Hello, everyone. Welcome to House of Chi Yoga. Whether it's your first time or you're returning, I'm happy you're here with me today. We're going to do about a 25-30 minute yoga sequence, and we're going to add a little breath work, a little short meditation to begin with. So let's go ahead and take it to seated or wherever you're comfortable on your mat or on the floor, the carpet, wherever you're at. And just get into an easy seated or comfortable position. So you can have one foot stacked on top of the thigh. You can have the foot relaxed onto the ground. This is the most common, the most simple version, one foot in front of the other. When you're ready, let's bring the fingertips down to the floor and close the eyes. Just take a few inhales and exhales, feeling the sitting bones grounding you down, feeling the lift through the crown of the head. And then notice what's happening with the spine. So maybe you add a little rock front to back, maybe right to left. And you want to land with the crown of the head over the shoulders and the shoulders over the hips. Now, as you push down to the sitting bones, feel the lift and the lengthen up through the crown. We have lots of space in between the vertebrae. We have lots of length in the spine. We have plenty of space for our breath. If your eyes are still kind of wandering or you still have a little bit of energy in them, you can take your peace fingers to your eyelids and just let the weight of the head fall toward the fingers. As you breathe here, you feel the space in the back of the neck. And then keeping the eyes nice and soft, we'll bring the hands down into the lap. Let's find our sitting bones. And as we inhale, bring the energy up towards the crown of the head. And then exhale, travel back down to the sitting bones. Inhale, sitting bones to the crown. Exhale, back down. One more inhale, lift. Exhale, relax back to the sitting bones. Then we'll do a little body scan. There's no control on the breathing. You're just letting the body do its thing. Breathe naturally. But we're going to take our focus and go from the crown of the head and notice the space from there down to the eyebrows. And then noticing the space from the eyebrows across to the temple. And then the space from the temple down to underneath the ear. From underneath the ear down to the chin. From the chin down to the collarbones. And the space from the collarbones across to the shoulder down to the elbow to the wrist, and then the space from the wrist to each fingertip. You're going to inhale from the fingertips, bring it all the way back up to the collarbone. And then notice the space from the collarbone to the base of the ribs, front of the ribs, sides, back of the ribs. Noticing the space from the base of the ribs down to the navel down to the hips, and the space from hip bone to hip bone across the pelvic floor. Noticing the space from the hip bones down through the hip flexors towards the knee. And from the knee down to the ankle wrapped around the heel, all the way to the pad of the foot. And then notice the space to each toe. On your next inhale, fill up all the space we just traveled through. And exhale out the mouth this time. Let's take a moment of silence. And then we're going to come to a little bit of breath work together. So we're going to go 2 in, 1 out. And you can choose to do it through your nose or through your mouth. Just kind of depends. If I'm feeling a little congested, I always go through my mouth. It is very good to go through the nose as well. I feel like the energy lifts up a little higher when I do it through my mouth on the inhale, but either way, the exhale is going to happen through the nose each time. So we'll go for 30 breaths to begin. We're just staying nice and tall, focusing on the double inhale and the single exhale. So when you're doing this breath work as well, it's a little bit quicker than a normal breath. And the double inhale is basically one inhale that you're creating a little pause in. So it's a little quick double inhale and then exhale to release it out. So let's begin by inhaling fully and then exhaling fully. And then let's go ahead and start 30 breaths. On your last exhale, go ahead and continue to empty, and we'll hold at the base. Feel the navel pulling to the spine. When you need to inhale, completely fill. Exhale to empty. We're going to do one more round of 30. Completely empty when you finish your 30, holding at the base. Feel the navel pull to the spine. Feel the restriction in the belly. See if you can hold a little bit longer. Then natural inhale. And just take a few calming breaths. You release the mouth, exhale out the mouth, soften the jaw. If you haven't already, go ahead and open the jaw and just move it around. You can take the fingertips to the jawline, give it a little massage. And you go underneath the ears, and then down the sides of the neck, and then towards the collarbones and away. Let's inhale our palms up overhead, and then bring the hands down to heart center, and just take a moment to recognize the right palm, the left palm, the right side of the body, the left side of the body, the right hemisphere of our brain, the left hemisphere, the light and the dark within us, and within the world around us. Just know that we complement each other, and one wouldn't be the same without the other. A moment of gratitude. Let's bring the hands down into the lap, and you can use your hands to extend the legs, especially if they're a little stiff. Start moving through the feet, the ankles, the wrist. Hope you had fun with that breath work. It's always more challenging to exhale out of the mouth instead of the nose, but it always gives you a chance when you're doing those quick breath works to focus on using the breath to calm the body, to get back, to get out of your fight or flight, and back into your rest and digest. So very good practices to do. Let's bring our feet into a Baddha Konasana, but keep lots of space, about a foot and a half from the heel to the groin, and just start using the elbows to walk out across the thigh. Now, I like to keep a grip with my hands and then keep the pressure from the elbow and slide through the fascia on the legs It definitely feels better if you're wearing pants and not shorts. But I do it anyway because it's good for me. So get into the fascia, give it some pressure, and then stretch it. And then I'm going to do the same thing but across the shin. So I'm just going to flip my hands up. I can use my forearm and just kind of rub down. You can get into the calf muscles. And then we're going to land at the ankles. And we'll start with the left side. So I'm going to grip the ankle, pull it away or pull it towards myself, and then move the foot around. You can move the foot anywhere, but you'll feel the tension through the fascia or through the skin even there. And then we'll take it the opposite side. So you grip, you pull towards yourself, and then you move the foot around. Ooh, that feels so good on the ankles. Then we're going to release the feet down, back to easy seated, and do the same thing with our wrist. So the hand is going to grip the wrist, pull towards the body, and then move the wrist around to get into the fascia. And then we'll go opposite side. Pull towards you, move the hand. And then I'm just gonna square up with my mat, but hopefully you're already on your mat space. Sitting with the sitting bones down, lifting up nice and tall. So when I push my sits bones down, it helps me lift and lengthen my spine. Now feet are flexed, hands are going right outside the hip, and my fingertips are working as wide as they can away from each other. Now I'm just gonna circle. I push down and then circle all the way around my wrist. I feel some mobility work across the wrist line. Make sure you go both directions. And then we're going to flip the hands and do the opposite. So open the fingertips up wide, hands are down, add a big circle one direction for a few, and then the opposite direction. So try to push it a little farther, maybe a bigger circle. Ooh, that feels nice. And then come through center. Now just wrist mobilization, lifting and lowering, feeling the flexion extension through the forearm. And then we'll inhale, palms up, take a big sweeping circle. You're bending at the elbow, lifting up through the heart. This time we'll keep our 90, we'll tuck the ribs in and just add some rotation through the spine. So there's lots of different, well, not lots, there's 6 different movements of the spine. We're gonna try to hit them all in this class. Open up to our right side twist and we'll go fingertips to the mat and then bring the fingertips to the same side shoulder. So as you're holding this twist, those deep abdominal muscles are working and now you're adding a little crunch through the core with this movement. 3, 2, now hold, push the fingertips down, roll the right shoulder away and gaze deeper. If you want to practice right side hip flexors, so this left hand, I'm just going to move it away from my leg a little bit. Now this right side hip flexor to core, I'm going to lift and pulse the leg up. Whoo, that goes right to the hip flexors. And then try to hold 2, 1, and now I'm going to square up, bring that right foot that I just worked across, and then bring the sits bones down. I'm going to reach away from that hip line. So I just worked all this hip flexor. I'm reaching away from it to create a stretch, to create this nice C curve in the spine. Keep that stretch. If your toes are pointed, go ahead and flex them. If they were flexed, go ahead and point them. And then we'll soften the feet, exhale as we roll up and line our feet back up. So flex foot. I'm going to go ahead and open to my left side spinal twist. Squeeze into the core, fingertip taps to the shoulder, and then to the mat space. So focus on the left side abdominals now. Stay in your twist, don't come out of it. 3, 2, 1. Fingertips are going to plant. Left shoulder works away. Maybe gaze past the shoulder. If you notice the shoulder rolling in, use the back muscles to continue to open it. And then I'm going to move my front hand away just enough that I can start pulsing into the left side hip flexors. 3, 2, try to hold, and release, square it back up. Now the left foot goes across, I bring the sits bones down, and then I reach away from the hip that I just worked. Really dig deep into that C curve, so rounding as much as you want through the ribs, through the spine. And then if you're pointing, flex. If you're flexed, take a point. And then gently walking the hands back up. Now the feet are going to stay in line with the hips. I'm going to bring my hands behind the hip line and then just push into the palms to open the heart. I'm keeping the shoulders back and away. I'm going to start working through my cervical spine, lifting and lowering, keeping the space across the chest, the space across the front of the ribs. And then neutral gaze, push into the palms and pike the hips up. If you want to hold here, go ahead. If you feel like you want to go farther, you can plant the feet and lift up a little bit more. Now, I continually have extremely tight shoulders, so I have to turn my fingertips out a little bit. So if you feel limited in your shoulder here, turn your fingertips out a little bit. You'll create more rotation in the shoulder for you. On our next exhale, we're going to use our heels. So let the toes peel up, push into the heels, bring your hips to your rib cage and hold an L sit. So I'm lengthening the legs, I'm using the quads. We're going to do this with a breath. Inhale, bring it up. Exhale, push into your heels, flex your quads, bring your hips to your ribs. One more, inhale, lift. And exhale, hold on the way back. Stay in your L sit this time for 3, 2, and lower it down. Take a nice forward roll. So I'm actually lengthening through the spine, lengthening through the fascia as I roll instead of just holding a stretch. So you inhale as you lift, and you exhale as you roll forward. Let's go 2 more. It feels so good. Keep the feet flexed and even work into the back of the hamstrings here. Now we can stay at the bottom. We can hold. We just lengthened the spine a ton. If you can reach your toes, you can give them a little press. And then as we come up, we'll cross our ankles and go through to quadruped. So from quadruped, tuck the toes under and lift up into the core, float both knees off the mat. Now you're just going to take little finger taps, right to left. Right away, my body started moving around. So I'm going to stabilize by squeezing into the core, keeping the ribs closed, and trying to limit the movement of the rest of my body. Now instead of going straight forward, I'm just going to tap to the side. Again, pushing into the feet. My body's moving around a lot again, so I'm going to try to stabilize. And then I'm going to the opposite side of the mat behind me. Hi, that is hard to stay still there. One more. And bring it down to quadruped. Inhale as you take right palm, left heel out. Exhale as you bring it down. Inhale, left palm, right heel. Exhale, down. We're going 2 more each side. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Last one. Exhale. Tuck the toes, walk the hands back, and just be in a soft forward fold. You can take opposite elbow. And now add a pulse through the legs. So my arms, as I'm holding opposite elbow, it's kind of creating a weight for my feet to lift. Or not my feet, but mostly my butt muscles. Butt and leg muscles. Let's go 2 more. And then you'll land in your forward fold. You can do any kind of movement here you need. You can let the arms sway. Now we'll take the fingertips down underneath the shoulders, and we're going to work through our feet. So any kind of movement here, heel to toe, rolling to the outsides, rolling to the insides. As you lift up to the toes and the balls of the feet, feel the connection all the way up the legs into the core. 1 more, and then landing nice and flat. Inhale, fly the arms back and behind. Now from here, I'm just going to hinge below the hip line and hinge above the hip line. It's not a very big movement. I'm keeping the shoulders away from the ears. I'm finding my back muscles. And this is so great for the booty. So make sure you're squeezing. 3, 2. Now bring the hands up and overhead as you push the hips back. Inhale to stand. Take the right hand to the left hip. Reach the left hand across. Inhale, both palms up. Exhale, sink it back to chair. Inhale, lift. Left hand, right hip. Right arm reaches across. Inhale, both hands up. Exhale, chair and hold. Push into the feet. Hug the hips to midline. Squeeze your navel to your spine. Roll the thumbs toward the back wall. Keep breathing. Keep holding. Use the connection of the feet into the floor. We're going to do that 1 more time. Inhale up. Exhale, release it down. Take the arms, walk it to a plank. Now try to cover the space of your mat. You're pushing into the toes to get the toe and the heel in one line and locking into the core, extending forward through the heart and the crown of the head. Now stay here. Keep holding in the abdominals. Feel the legs working. Feel the abs working. Now on your next exhale, you're going to bring just the right knee down and you're going to float the left toes. So the challenge here is to stay in the abdominals, make sure they're very active, and then isolate the left glute muscle to lift. So if you're doing this, if you feel the back bending, you're not holding the core. Really tight core, and then focus on the glute muscles to come up. 2 and 1. I'll take the left side behind. So my knees are together. I'm going to walk my hands back so that they're stacked directly under my shoulders, and both my toes are pointed. Now, hamstring curl on both sides. Feel the heels pull to the glute. Feel the rib cage tuck in. Keep holding, holding. If you have the mobility to add a little tap, a little hamstring curl, go ahead and do that here. 3, 2, and 1. Now the right foot is going to plant. The left foot is going to swing around in this big arching circle. I want to open up the left hip joint. If you need to readjust at any time, you want to keep those palms underneath the shoulders. Go opposite direction with your circle. And then we'll step the left toes back, and the right toes are going to follow. We're back in our plank. Do your adjustments to get into a very long plank, very active hold. Everything is working to stabilize. Press the floor away from you. Lift into your abdominals. One more breath here. And then we'll exhale the left knee down. So lock into the core, float the right toes for a pulse. Remember, if you're finding lots of movement here, it's not stable. Tuck into the abs, isolate the glute muscle to move. Feel the hip flexors, feel the glutes. Let's go for 3, 2, and 1. And then we're going to work it across body. I'm going to walk my hands back under my shoulders because I don't want to be in that plank anymore. I'm going to pull both heels up, and then I know I can handle that pulse, so I'm going to go ahead and go into my pulse. Don't lose the abdominal muscles here. And our thighs are squeezing. 2, and 1. Now the left foot lowers. The right side is going to come all the way open, and I'm just going to dig deep into that right side hip. Go ahead and go opposite direction. Lift and pull back. 2. Last one, step the right foot back. Left foot follows. Walk it all the way back to a nice forward fold. Now, I can keep my legs long here because I do forward folds all day, every day. If you're not ready to keep your legs long, bend your knees, soften them, and just get your thigh and belly close together. If you feel like, oh, my hamstrings are nice and open, I can handle this, you can bind to the ankle, you can bind to the opposite elbow behind the leg, wherever you want to be for a few breaths. And then releasing the bind. Bend the knees, we're going to walk it back to our plank position. I always lower my knees for chaturanga. If you want to do an actual chaturanga, feel free to. If you're lowering your knees, you're still pulling hips to ribs, stay nice and strong. Inhale up through our cobra. And then we're going to hold cobra. Notice my arms are staying long. I'm just letting my lats move up and down. So I'm continuing to push the floor away from me, to drive the lats down the back, and to pull the shoulders away from the ear. Go for 2. Now hold the shoulders away from the ear. Find your ab muscles. Float the right leg. Exhale it down, and then float the left leg. And releasing down. Micro bend through the elbows. Let's feel a little pulse through the triceps. So it's a micro bend and extend. So if the shoulders are rounding forward, we want to continue to pull them back. Keep the chest nice and broad. And then the last one, we're going to come all the way to the mat and reach forward and back through the toes for a Superman hold. Continue to reach. Let's bring the fingertips out wide, feet flexed, and just work on low back lifts. So my feet are very active, my legs are very active. I'm isolating the glute muscle again as I come up. Now put the toes on the ground, but I'm going to push the toes down to pull the thighs up. My arms are going to rotate from a 90, right to left. You can do both if you want to. I'm just going to isolate right and then isolate left. Feel the back muscles being active. Now, instead of coming straight up and back, I'm going to open to the side. So follow with the gaze. It's hard to breathe and to do this and to talk. Let's go one more each side. Whew. And then bring the forearms down and underneath. So our Sphinx pose. Palms are flat, index finger is in line with the wrist, and the wrist is in line with the elbow. Now make sure the wrist isn't coming up. You want to push the wrist down, make sure it's nice and stable, and then lift up, kind of like a cobra, but it's a little baby cobra. Feel your triceps being super active here. Feel the palms pushing down. Your palms are gripping and creating traction for the triceps, traction to lift and open the heart. If you want to take it a little farther, you can start lengthening the arms. Now this is a very big back bend, so maybe just do little bits at a time, or if you know you have a tight low back, we'll just go ahead and stay in our little Sphinx pose for this one. And then when you come out, we're going to bring the elbows out, fingertips in. Beautiful. Keep the low body down. You're squeezing the scapula together and letting them come back. It's a very strong pulse in the back body. Make sure you're working both sides evenly. 3, 2, and 1. Press it back through your quadruped. And from quadruped, now we're going to release the back muscles. So first, find a figure 8. And your figure 8 comes from your sitting bones. So if you imagine your QL muscle, you're moving the sitting bones to one side and then back towards the wall behind you. That was not a very good explanation. So if you imagine your QL muscles that are connecting from the ribs to the hips, you're trying to contract one QL as you open the other side QL. So that's where the figure 8 comes in. Sometimes we just talk too much on our yoga mat. And now start working your cat-cow spine. So now you can take a big round and a big arch and just breathe into all the muscles surrounding the spine. We'll go one more. Hold your round. Tuck the toes. Extend the tailbone back to a downward facing dog. Now I like to cover as much space as I can on my mat. Feet are hips distance, palms in line with the shoulder. Push the mat away from you and find more space along the spine. Keep the feet planted. You can start shifting the hips. Maybe you feel the IT band a little bit. And then we're going to lift off the heels, roll forward to our plank position, and then press all the way back. So if you feel like you need to bend the knees, then you go ahead and bend the knees, but try to keep the arms long. If you want to start working more into a cobra, it's a lot more mobility work through the spine. And you just go very slow, very intentional. And you go all the way through to the gaze. So as I inhale, I roll to plank, to cobra. I bring the gaze all the way up to land. And then I work gaze down first, and then cervical spine, the rest of the spine, back to the heel. Let's go 2 more following your breath. And then from there, we're going to bend the knees, step or hop up. Inhale to a flat back. And exhale to a fold. Inhale, roll it up vertebrae by vertebrae. Palms reach up and overhead. Now as I exhale, my right elbow is going to crunch towards my left knee. And I'm actually going to face you to do this one, because I want to make sure that the knee is not crossing midline. The knee is driving up straight, and the torso is crossing midline. So just do that a couple times right to left. Feels like the old school PE movement, but it's actually very good for the body and the spine. Incorporate those hip flexors, the core. Remember, it's the torso that's twisting, so you feel a crunch in the abs. It's not the inner thigh that's pulling the knee to midline. So if you have a mirror or a partner, someone with you, ask them, check in, make sure the knee stays in line with the hip. Last one. We're going to see if we can hold. So I'm going to keep the length in my left arm. I'm going to push down into my right foot, and then the elbows coming across, and I'm going to keep the crunch there. So I'm not losing the space in the length, but I'm closing off this side muscle chain. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Check in with your right side big toe. Keep pushing it down. 3, 2. Now hands to heart center. You're just going to circle the left knee. So focus on that lift up and away. And you can actually get as much movement as you want here. So I'm probably going to wobble and fall over, but that's okay. I want to create lots of movement in my hip. Let's go one more. Left heel is going back and behind for a curtsy. And I'm not in a very wide curtsy. My right foot is planted. My left foot is about 1.5 feet away. Hands to the hips. I want you to exhale and hinge. I'm flat backed. Inhale, lift up. Exhale to hinge. Notice what's happening along the hip line. Last one, we're not going to hinge this time. We're just going to press down into a little squat. Now, if you feel pressure on this knee, just adjust your foot. But you want to keep that foot working down. Keep the sits bones heavy. You can take palms up overhead. Now, my left knee, I'm just going to move it a little bit. I'm just going to get into the inner thigh. I'm going to feel around the knee. If you want to do both knees, it just depends on your range of motion. So I know I work a lot on my knee stability, my knee strength, so I love these awkward movements. I love challenging what I can do with my knees to keep them nice and healthy and strong in all these weird areas, which is important, but it takes time to build up there. So start very small. And then we're going to squeeze everything back to center, and my right hand's going to bind to the left. I'm going to just release through the left side body. So the feet are still working down. I feel a nice C curve along the left side of the spine. Maybe pull the left shoulder back a little farther. And then the next inhale, we're going to come to stand. And exhale, release the hands down. Shake it out. Move the hips around. Move the arms around. We're going to go through one vinyasa. I'm going to face my mat, and then I'll turn back to you for the next one. So inhale, palms lift. Exhale to a fold. Inhale, flat. Exhale through your chaturanga. Remember, lower the knees if you'd like, but keep the abs in. Inhale through cobra. And exhale to our downward facing dog. Bend the knees, step or hop up. Inhale to flat. Exhale to fold. Inhale, vertebrae by vertebrae as you come up. Hiya. Nice little refresh. Okay, let's transfer to the other side. So now my left foot is staying, my right palm is lifting. So I'm keeping the length and the space with this leg, this palm. The other side is crunching across. I'm closing off that space. This is my less balanced side. Push into the big toes. Keep squeezing into the core. Find the glutes, hug the hips in together. There's always different muscles you can squeeze into. Just find different muscles, find different areas to squeeze. All of it's going to help you stabilize. Pull your navel to your spine. Let's take one more breath here. And then exhale, hands to your heart. And any sort of movement, it's okay if you're falling all over. You can stabilize by grabbing onto someone. Lots of movement through the right hip. We'll go one more. I'm going to take the right foot back and behind for my curtsy. Remember, about a foot and a half. So not too wide. And then I want to hug everything in. We're going to take hands to hips. As you hinge, you want to keep the navel to the spine. Feel the stretch across the glutes, and then squeeze the hips as you come back up. Use the feet into the floor. That movement is originating from the feet first, and then traveling all the way up through the body. Let's go two more. Now this time, we're going to sink it straight down into our squat. Remember, if you need to adjust the front foot, check in with your knee, make sure everything's okay. You can take palms up overhead. Now I like to make sure all my toes are working down to the mat. If you add a movement on the other side, add some movement on this side. If you're too nervous to add movement, just holding and stabilizing in this pose is working on your knee joint as well. So don't feel bad if you don't want to add movement. You can just stay and stabilize through the feet. And hold one more breath. And then we're going to squeeze everything back to center. Now my left hand binds to the right. I'm going to open up the right side body in this big C curve. I'm going to roll the right shoulder back a little farther to get a bigger lift. And then I'm going to release through center and let the hands come straight down to the sides. Now your heart rate might be up a little bit, but let's go ahead and close the eyes and feel the connection of the feet into the floor. Sometimes you get a little wobbly just from closing the eyes at standing, but we want to find those deep abdominal muscles. Hug the hips in, feel the glute muscles, push the feet down into the ground, lift tall through the crown of the head. And imagine drawing everything towards midline of the body, towards the spine. And now lengthening down through the fingertips and down through the feet and up through the crown. Beautiful. I'm going to step to the top of my mat. We're going to go through one more vinyasa together. Inhale, palms rise. Exhale to a fold. Inhale to a flat back. Exhale through your chaturanga. Now you can add a couple push-ups this time if you'd like. I have a lot of shoulder, I don't want to say injury, but I always have to be really, really careful with my shoulders. I've done many, many incorrect chaturangas in my life. So now I just have a really limited chaturanga, and that's okay. I'm only saying that because I want you to know that it's better to protect yourself and do correct chaturangas or smaller ones than it is to get all the way down close to the mat. Okay, let's take the knees wide, press it all the way back to our child's pose and sink down through the hips, down through the belly. The more you can open up the knees, the deeper you're going to sink into the hips here. I sure do love my yoga mat. I'm grateful for that today. And then we'll walk the hands forward. So opening up through the front of the ribs. This opens from the navel all the way up to the chin. So that's why when we say in puppy's pose, we keep the gaze forward. It's because we're trying to stretch all the way through our neck as well. So chest and neck. So continue to walk the hands until the butt pops right over the knees. Now my butt is over my knees, my chest can work down, and the wider the hands, the easier this pose. So I usually start about the distance of my mat, and then if I feel like it, I can move my hands in, but again, my shoulders get so tight, I pretty much just stay distance with my mat. Now, if your throat is on the ground, that's going to be uncomfortable. So you want to use the arm, the length of the arm, to gently press down to protect the throat, but you're still feeling a stretch. It's great if you can get your armpits and your chest down to the mat. Remember, gaze is in between the thumbs. Let's just try to hold and soften for about 2 more breaths. You're always using your exhales to go deeper into your stretch to release more. And then gently pull the tailbone back, walk the hands in. We're going to go on the forearms one more time. So I'll turn towards you so you can see this move. This is about pulling the scapula away from the spine and getting the rhomboids nice and worked. So my elbows are under my shoulders, and I'm going to just do one palm at a time. Walk into the ribs. My core is nice and tight. And now one hand goes as far as I can get it, rotating towards and under the body, and back open. I'm going to rotate towards and under. Woo, got a nice pop there. And back open. If you have hand weights or a band, this is a really good exercise. Right now, I'm just doing it for mobility. I'm focused on scapula away, scapula back towards spine. Let's go one more each side. This is also super good for elbow exfoliation, if you're looking for that sort of thing. And then releasing it down. Okay. Let's come onto the knees. Any kind of movement you need here real quickly. If you want, close your eyes and just kind of see what the body wants. Shake it out. Take the hips right to left. The spine usually will tell you what it wants. Well, take that back. The more you work with the spine, the more you work with your muscles, the more they're going to tell you what they want. And then we'll inhale, palms up. Exhale, bring the hands to the heart. And now actively press the thumbs into the chest and tuck your core in. So now I'm going to lean back, but all this is staying really tight and strong so that as I lean back, I'm not just going to flop back. My hip flexors are working, my abs are working to hold. If your knees come up, you'll get a really nice press across the front of the foot, top of the foot. You might feel some stretch across the ankle. Let's hold one more. And then keeping the core tight, let the knees come back down. Now just a big opening stretch. We're going Parigasana right to left, so that's gate pose. Inhale as you open top arm and leg. Exhale, bring it back through center. Inhale, open opposite side. And exhale back. One more here. Exhale, center. And one more here. Inhale and exhale. Beautiful work. Okay, let's come down to seated. And we'll take it up into supported bridge. And then we'll finish off with a spinal twist. So once I'm on my back, I like to always just start by shaking my legs out, getting the legs up in the air, keeping the heels in line with the hips, and letting the blood just flow the opposite direction for a moment. I don't know if that makes any sense, but releasing the blood pressure in the legs. Okay, now planting the feet down. And you have a couple options for a bind here. You can hold the side of the mat and work on top of the shoulder. You can bind to the heel, the ankle, and lift up. Or you can bind onto your own hands and then work to the top of the shoulder from there. So any of those binds, we're just going to take a few breaths here. Lift and open the front body. Keep expanding across the chest and the ribs. And then whatever bind you have, just release it and walk the hands underneath the hip line. Now, my favorite thing to do here is to take the hands right at the hips and then pull the hips toward the heels. And that just pulls the hips right out of the sacrum. So you get some nice pressure there. Sometimes, like just now, I just had a nice pop around the sacrum. It feels like a really great adjustment most of the time. And then we want to come out of this very slowly. So push the feet down, find the butt muscles, gently start releasing the hands, and then you're very gently guiding the spine back down to the mat. Nice. You can windshield wipe a little bit. Just let the spine adjust. And then we'll go for our last spinal twist. So I'm going to roll to my right hip, and my bottom leg, which is my right leg, is going to go behind my body. My top leg, which is my left, is going to be in front. This hand, I'm holding this top leg down. This back arm, I'm going to bind onto the foot. So now I have my hands to help me kind of stretch the legs. Don't do too much pressure. What I'm adding, you can add as much pressure as you want. Start small though. You're adding a little twist with the hands, and you're trying to melt this back, shoulder, and rib cage down to the mat. So you'll feel with the hand bind how much you can kind of accentuate that twist and go deeper. Don't forget to breathe. We want to get into these positions, and then we want to take our breath there. And then we'll keep our right hand where it is, but our left hand, the hand that was binding at the foot, we're going to take behind our head and just roll it around. Now you can keep the head on the mat, you can lift it up and add an open and a close through the shoulder. Any kind of movement, we're just stretching into that back fascia one last time. And then coming back through center, square it up, fix your pants, adjust your shirt, whatever you need. We're going to switch sides. I should probably adjust my body position as well. Oh, geez. Okay. So now I have left leg on the bottom. It's behind my body. Right leg on top. It's in front of my body. This left hand goes on top leg. This back hand goes to the foot. Now I can use this bind to roll the chest open, to get the rib cage nice and flat, to add a little stretch by pulling and breathe into the sacrum. If at all you feel pressure on the low back, then back up off the bind. Let the legs come back close to the body. We don't want to feel pressure. We want to feel a nice release. Once you get there, let's take about 2 or 3 deep breaths. And then gently releasing the backhand. Add the movement, anything you took on the other side, anything your body is calling for. One more big movement. Whee, and then let's come on to the back. So to get up to seated, you're going to add a little roll through the spine. So first you just start by lifting up the hips and then letting them come back down. And then you can start by gripping underneath the legs and adding a roll to seated, trying to stay in a C curve. You could even work knees open, forehead down to the toes. Now that is a very big stretch. It's a lot for the whole back body. So just pay attention to what's happening to your body. Always go into the movements nice and slow. And I'm going to see if I can land the last one. Whoop, right forward. To land with you. Okay, that was really fun today. I could just sit on my yoga mat and do that kind of class all day long, which is kind of what I do. That's basically what my classes are. If you would like to go into Shavasana, now is the time to go into Shavasana. You can pause and then come back and seal our class with us if you would like, or just click me off, go into Shavasana, take a nap, go get some water, do whatever you need to do. But if you'd like to end class with me here, let's go ahead and bring our palms up over our head. Exhale, hands down to your heart center. And just go back to that space of gratitude for one more moment. So anything you want to bring in, anything you want to release. And then bringing the hands down into the lap. Thank you for joining me today. I always enjoy being here. Let me know if you want any other specific videos. I'm happy to share with you. Otherwise, like and subscribe, or if this is on subscription, I hope you enjoy the class. And I'll see you next time on the House of Chi Yoga.